Hello class, welcome to week 2 of the Earth Revealed. Hopefully week 1 was not too terribly bad for you or wasn't too difficult. I have noticed that every one of you has actually visited the Moodle website, and so typically for week 1, if you don't show up to class or participate, you'd end up getting dropped. So currently no one is in that situation. That does mean that if you are expecting to get dropped, like you might in some other course, because you decide it's just not for you. Instead, in this case, if you do want to drop early on, you'll have to let me know, and we'll figure that out, or you can do it yourself. If you're feeling like you need some extra help with this course as an online course, the ATC, or it's also known as the Academic Technologies Center, have people there that can help you out with using the things here in the site. There is a link or some information that I put into the announcements forum for you. You should have also gotten an email about that. But moving on, here in week 2, we are going to continue to talk more about plate tectonics. Let me zoom in here for you. And more specifically about like our little region of plate tectonics. You can see here's Washington, here's Oregon. So this here would be a slice of Mount Hood. And subduction, or one plate going beneath another plate, we're talking about rigid continental crust here. Subduction is happening all over the world, but in our little slice of the Earth, we have a bit of a unique situation, because you see right over here off the coast is a spreading center. So this is where the plates are pulling apart, new material is coming up to replace it, and when those plates pull apart, pressure is reduced from that very hot material, and just a bit of it melts and is able to create new oceanic crust. So these spreading centers, that's where new rock is being formed for the crust of the Earth. And then eventually these plates move apart over thousands to hundreds of thousands to millions of years. And in time, they'll run into continental crust. And the difference between oceanic crust and continental crust is that oceanic crust is much more dense, and continental crust is less dense, so lighter. Typically, we'd say that oceanic crust is heavier and continental crust is lighter. It just means that when we're saying dense, we're saying there's more mass packed into less volume. So it wants to actually sink when it comes into contact with the continental crust. Continental crust kind of forces it down. And in those subduction zones, we've got earthquakes in here and volcanism created from that interaction. But in our slice of the world, we have a very young oceanic crust that is going down beneath our continental plate. And while you're learning about this, I'd like you to just keep in mind the material based on earthquakes, because we're going to talk more about that in another week. Another thing that I'd like to talk about is the study focus sheet here. This is, again, the sheet that you would look at for material to focus on from the videos. And thanks to Zan, who posted in the student-to-student help forum, she pointed out that there were a couple of links in here that aren't working because of the government shutdown, which I could say plenty about that, but I won't. So this link right here and this link right here are not working because of the government shutdown. I provided some extra links here It won't be the exact same content, but it'll be fairly similar. So go ahead and check those out because those are going to be pretty interesting for you. So next up, we've got homework, field trip, and I'll go into that in a second, and the labs, and sort of an exam review quiz. It's optional, but it's highly recommended. You maybe want to do that now and then again before the exam, or maybe just before the exam. The lab here, if you are taking the lab course, is going to be going over GPS, which you might find particularly interesting. If you have a cell phone at all and use GPS, it's kind of neat to figure out how that all works. As for the field trip, this is something that you don't have to look at right now, but in later weeks you may wish to come back and take a look at this. It is just to kind of get you to start thinking about, and this here is also a link to a web document. It's further dug in there. And this document is a bit long, but it's to try and help you get a full understanding of what this assignment is going to be all about. And, in essence, you're going to be doing an independent field trip, and that will should include you getting one of these books, possibly finding a place to borrow it or buy it, and going to different places throughout Oregon to check out some of its geology, like put some of that geology knowledge that you've learned to the test and just kind of apply it to the world around you. And of course, some of you, it's better for you to start thinking about it now than later because of the logistics involved. You may not have a car, or maybe let's say you have a work trip or some other trip, and you realize, oh, I could use this time to do that independent field trip. Well, I would also like to stress that, geology is everywhere, and you may be able to find examples of this geology just right here in town, and it might be pretty easy for you. The issue is, of course, some places of the world have just better examples of geology, even though it's really everywhere. Okay, so that's all I'll say about the field trip for now. We will be talking about that again at a later date, but I would like you to read that document over and just start thinking about where you might like to go, what material you might like to cover. So that is it for week 2. Please let me know any issues you may have, or let me know if you'd like to come in for office hours, and we'll arrange that. Otherwise, good luck, and we'll see you next week. Thanks.